From teammates to opponents? What really happened between Junho and Yoona that turned the whole studio upside down? Tension, sharp words, and an atmosphere so thick you could cut it with a knife. Was it just a misunderstanding, or something deeper? Let's find out together, right now, with red carpet revealed. The lights were bright, almost blinding, as the cameras clicked in rapid succession. The studio, usually buzzing with excitement and laughter, was eerily tense that day. Everyone could feel it. Something was different, wrong even. The two stars, Junho and Yoona, who had charmed millions with their chemistry, stood just a few feet apart, but the emotional distance between them was impossible to ignore. It started quietly. The set was filled with staff rushing about, adjusting props, fixing makeup, and making sure every detail was perfect. Junho and Yoona arrived almost at the same time, wearing their signature smiles. But those who were watching closely noticed it. Her eyes didn't meet his. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. The director, oblivious to the storm brewing, called everyone to attention. Places, everyone. Let's make this quick and beautiful. But the moment Junho and Yoona stood side by side in front of the cameras, the air thickened. At first, it was just small things. Lip response here. Sharp glance there. Yoona adjusted her dress and Junho's hand instinctively moved to help, but she subtly stepped away. The photographer noticed but said nothing, clicking furiously to capture the rare tension. Then, the trigger, a whispered line from Junho that only Yoona could hear. Her expression froze, her hands balled into fists. "What did you just say?" she hissed, loud enough this time for those nearby to turn their heads. Junho, equally surprised by her reaction but unwilling to back down, straightened his shoulders and met her gaze. "I said, maybe if you focused on the scene instead of yourself, we wouldn't have to retake everything." The room fell silent. The director's smile faltered. The stylist dropped a hairbrush. The cameras stopped clicking. Yoona's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. "You think this is all my fault?" she shot back, her voice trembling with fury. "You think you're carrying this whole thing? Don't flatter yourself." Junho took a step closer, his jaw tight. "You've been acting like a diva since day one. Everyone's tired of it, even if they're too scared to say it." Gasps rippled through the crew. No one dared to move. Some exchanged worried glances, others stared at the floor. Then, like a spark catching fire, the argument escalated. Words they had both swallowed for weeks, months even, came spilling out in heated bursts. "You don't respect anyone's time here. You're late, you demand changes, and then you blame everyone else when things don't go your way." Junho barked, his voice rising. "Oh, that's rich coming from you," Yoona spat. "Mr. Perfect, who thinks he's the director, the writer, and the star. You don't know how to work with people, only how to control them." It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a confession of every resentment they'd harbored during their time working together. The director finally stepped forward, his face pale. "That's enough," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Neither of them listened. Junho's hands were clenched at his sides, Yoona's eyes were glassy with unshed tears. The tension was suffocating. And then, the moment that would make headlines, Yoona turned on her heel and stormed off the set, muttering under her breath. "Can't do this anymore." Junho stood there, staring at her retreating figure, his chest heaving. The studio was dead silent. Only sound the fading echo of her heels against the polished floor. In the corner, a young assistant whispered. "That really just happened?" Someone else murmured, "We're all in trouble now." Within minutes, the whispers turned into a chorus of speculation. Some staff hurried after Yoona, others hovered around Junho, unsure whether to speak or just let him cool off. The director sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. Social media was already buzzing. A leaked clip from someone's phone showed the confrontation, grainy but unmistakable. Fans were already choosing sides, hashtags trending within the hour, #Junho Yoona clash, #studio drama, #from teammates to opponents. While Junho remained on set, pacing like a caged animal, his thoughts unreadable. It was clear to everyone now, this wasn't just a bad day at work. This was years of pressure, unspoken grievances, and clashing egos detonating in front of everyone. And the question everyone was asking, both aloud and in their minds, Could they ever come back from this? The studio remained quiet long after Yoona disappeared behind the heavy exit doors. People stood around awkwardly, exchanging glances, unsure of what to do next. Junho, still standing under the glaring studio lights, finally ran a hand down his face and let out a long breath. The director cleared his throat. "All right. Let's call it for today," he muttered, though everyone knew the damage was already done. As the crew slowly packed up their equipment, Junho strode off the set without another word. His manager rushed to catch up, whispering something in his ear, but Junho only shook his head, his face set in stone. Meanwhile, Yoona's manager had already whisked her away into a waiting van outside. Through the tinted windows, one could just make out her silhouette, her head resting against the glass, her hand covering her mouth as if to keep herself from saying more. By the time the crew started leaving the studio, the incident had already gone viral. Someone, no one admitted who, had uploaded the grainy clip of their argument to social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #Junho Yoona fight, #drama on set, and #who was right were trending. Fans on both sides exploded into a frenzy, taking to Twitter, Instagram, and forums to voice their shock. "I can't believe this. My two favorite stars, yelling at each other like that. It must have been so bad if Yoona just walked out." Junho was right though. "She's been acting cold lately." "No way, he was totally out of line. Don't talk to her like that." As the hours passed, more pieces of the story started surfacing. According to some crew members who chose to remain anonymous, the tension between Junho and Yoona had been brewing for weeks. "You could feel it," one staffer told an entertainment blogger. "They were polite in front of the cameras, but backstage, it was icy. They barely spoke unless they had to." Another claimed that it wasn't just professional frustration, there was something more personal underlying it all. "It wasn't just about the scene," said another source. "It was about trust. Something happened between them before this project even began." By the next morning, both of their agencies released short, carefully worded statements. Junho's agency wrote, "There was a misunderstanding on set yesterday, which has now been addressed. We apologize for causing concern." Yoona's agency said, "Yoona was deeply hurt by comments made during filming. She is taking time to recover emotionally. Please respect her privacy." But neither statement offered any real explanation, and fans weren't satisfied. Speculation ran wild. Some claimed it was simply work stress, others believed it had to do with a rumored past relationship between the two that had never been confirmed publicly. One particularly viral theory came from a fan who claimed to have overheard their conversation earlier that day. He said, "You've changed," and she said, "Never really knew me." Whether true or not, the quote spread like wildfire, fueling more debates. Meanwhile, the studio was forced to halt filming indefinitely. Advertisers started to worry about their campaigns featuring both stars. The production team scrambled to do damage control, while the director reportedly begged both actors to meet and resolve things privately. And then came the twist no one expected. 2 nights later, a new video surfaced, this time from a CCTV camera in the parking garage under the studio. The footage showed Yoona and Junho standing next to her car, away from everyone else. Yoona appeared visibly upset, but Junho reached out and gently took her hand. They spoke for several minutes, faces serious but calm. At the end, she nodded and he gave her a small, sad smile before walking away. Footage reignited the conversation online. So they did talk it out? That didn't look like a fight at all, more like closure. Maybe they just needed to say what they couldn't in front of everyone. By the end of the week, a joint statement finally arrived. "We regret that personal emotions interfered with our work. We apologize to everyone affected and appreciate the support of our fans. We are committed to finishing this project professionally together." The statement didn't reveal much, but the tone was softer, more reconciliatory. When they returned to set a few days later, the atmosphere was subdued but no longer tense. Both arrived separately, but when the cameras rolled, their professionalism shone through. They delivered their lines perfectly, their chemistry intact, though perhaps tinged with something bittersweet. In an interview weeks later, when asked about the incident, Junho paused before answering. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "you hold things in for so long that when they finally come out, It feels like an explosion, but it's better than letting it fester forever. Yoona, in her own interview, added, "We're human too. We hurt, we forgive, we grow." In the end, the clash that had threatened to destroy their partnership became the catalyst for honesty between them. And a wake-up call for everyone watching. Their story became more than just gossip. It became a reminder that even the brightest stars have shadows, that even teammates can become opponents, and, perhaps, become teammates again. As they stood side by side at the final press event, both smiling, both a little more human in the eyes of the world, it was clear that whatever had happened on that tense day in the studio was now behind them, but would never be forgotten. The studio lights dimmed, the cameras stopped rolling, but the story lived on, a quiet testament to the fragile, fiery hearts of two of the biggest names in the industry.